Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, good. Oh, such another milestone. I'm ready for my two big milestones, Microsoft and this.
Excellent, awesome.
Okay, does the meeting room setup seem good?
Yeah, I'm just looking at how many participants have joined. Uh,
It's just us two who have joined. Um, I'm not quite sure if anyone else, let's see, there were 10 or 12 people a couple days ago, who, good, both recording and it's live. We got two people. I will keep an eye to see if anyone needs to be admitted, but I don't think they will. Let's see, I have a mute all button here, which I may do. Now I wonder if I can. I'm going to make you a presenter and we're going to see what happens. And so that way, in case there are anything that happens, you may be able to jump in and help. And then, so there's a Q&A panel. Oh, let me see if I can share my screen here. So I'm going to share oops, okay, but where did my meeting go? Okay, I just click back on the meeting and then let me also see here. Can you keep an eye on the meetup just to see if anyone is there and says like,
yeah,
I can't get in. I don't know how they would communicate with us, but maybe you could just pop a reminder to register or to come over here. And then the other thing I think we can do, let me look at these controls. I thought I saw an invite. Call health meeting options. I'm going to look under meeting options real quick. Do you see all of that? What I'm doing? Okay, I have that everyone can bypass the lobby. Um, I don't know why this seems grayed out. It seems like it's toggled on. Attendees can bypass the lobby. So here is also something. I have had meetups before where some person just joins, but they say stupid shit or they join to disrupt. So if you see anyone joining to and is disruptive, just kick them out. End of
yes.
story.
Did I do that?
I don't know. Let me see. Let me go back. I'm clicking the people button, and here I know I just found this remove from meeting under the three dots.
Okay.
And then should I maybe spotlight me for everyone? Let's see what that looks like. Spotlight me. I don't know what that means. Um, Now, let me also say, let me see if I can just share the presentation. Okay, good. PowerPoint Live, Scrum Goddess, Agile Boulder 2026. Okay, let's see. This looks good. Okay, so let me just go through. There's about 8 slides in the appendix, so there's not 37. But if we're hello, agenda, hi, I'm Jeno, this is me, over to you. Hey, Nog, hello. You can, I want you to jump in and definitely speak here. So,
Yeah.
in this whole intro, like front section, um, that will be up on the slide. I don't have our sponsor slide. Do you have our sponsor slide? We could maybe drop that in real quick.
No, I don't.
Shruti said, "Oh, I sent the link to Nog and whatever." I was on the what do you call it? Slack. And I was like, there's no activity here. Everything's older than 90 days, and we don't have one of those um, accounts. We haven't paid for it. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to find anything here. So I was really shocked. I just saw this message. Hey, I sent Nog the link. And I
I
was
saw
like,
the link from Shruti, but I don't see exactly where that has been sent.
okay. And then here's our 2025 goals slide. Um, I don't know if I'll be able to cut this out of the recording, so that's okay. I'll figure that out. And I'm really not sure anyone's going to need or want to see the recording, but maybe once I get it into Microsoft Stream, I can probably cut out this whole beginning part. But I'd rather not turn off the recording and transcription for fear I'll never get it back on. Um, so think about sort of how you want to jump in here. I'll just tee up the slide. And a lot of the time, what I will just do is I'll coach people like, I'll talk about the slide, but you go ahead and read the slide. That way we're doing sort of more engaging presentation. But I'd love for you to jump in as much as you can, as you want on this slide. And then, oh, wait, okay. Yeah, okay, this is one thing I noticed. So let me do this. I wonder if I could just go into the presentation here. Because I was going to put that retrospective information hmm, um, in there. The what can we do for you, that second slide. So I'm just going to delete that slide. So I've got, let's go back to my Teams meeting. Right click. Okay, there we are. Why is this open twice? Let me just, I just want to make sure I remove. Okay, here we go. Oh, wait, am I not sharing my screen anymore? Let me share. Okay, so here's what we have. We have 11 registered. Chris is probably not going to come because he's gone. And I guess that's where we are right now. And then, so if I wanted to go here, okay, so I don't need this browser open at all. Okay, so that's done. Okay, so here's all my links. So this is the link to that article. And then my article, if we wanted to get in there, and then links to the computer slides. Let's see. And then this is a fun little ender right here. So now back to the presentation. So we've got this goddess, this slide. Then we've got our goals. And then here, what I wanted to do was to engage everyone, just to say if people are continually chatting, that chat will come into the Copilot summary. And so throughout the presentation, it's it's good for people to just keep engaging. So we will definitely take their information and we can use that as inputs for later sessions. And then this kicks off. Okay, so we've sort of oriented everyone. We're all hanging out. We're getting to know each other. And then we are diving into the presentation. Okay, so this, I think I'm gonna just, and then this is the one that I wanted. I don't know why it ended up all the way there. So those are my thank yous. Okay, what's in it for me? Our goals. chat through the meeting, then I get started, and then a little bit of history, how we got to AI today, the foundation. Um, we are going to change. So this I thought was a funny slide. The key things we need for success in AI. And then the premise for Scrum Goddess. Okay, how we're bringing it to the Agile principles. I thought this was going to be the most amazing. As soon as it generated it, I was like, wow, look, it put all the 14 principles together. But this is the thing with AI. When you start looking at it, look at all of, when you see it bigger, it's just like,
What was your
it,
input to generate this one? Did you tell that I wanted with these colors?
so I've already trained it on the modern goddess branding, so it just came up with it. It already knew like I like punk rock style, futuristic. My palette, my colors, brand colors are
Yeah.
fuchsia.
Oh,
So it already knew, and I was like, this is awesome. But then you look at the text and you're like, this is so hallucinatory. I wanted to include that as one of the fun things of like, okay, here we go.
I
Um,
used AI for one of recently, like last week or 2 weeks ago. One of my friend, he was starting a catering business, and he wanted his the name of the catering business was VB Foods. So he came to me and then he was asking, "Hey, I need a good logo for VB Foods," you know. And then I was going through the AI on my WhatsApp, and I fed all the information like I need kind of a green color because I want to be, the food has to be green. Vegetables, we need the green color and we need some red. So I just give some very basic ideas that this is my colors I need. This is how I'm looking at it. Super. The logo that I got for the VB Foods from the AI is amazing. I just, send it to him, and then now it is in the commercials.
wow, that's so cool. It's just, it saves so much time.
Definitely.
And yeah, so okay, so this is, I knew that one slide was out of order. I got it back in order. So adios, amigos, that's where it was. And then what I will do is maybe before the adios, amigos, I could flip over here because this is really funny. This is the perfect Star Trek meme where so Scotty um, goes back in time. You remember with the
I
one with the
know.
whales, and then he's like, he needs them to make a specific type of new material, and so the guy here has a computer. He just sits in front of this computer and goes, computer. And then someone hands him a mouse and he takes the mouse and he goes, computer.
Long
And
back.
then he's like, oh, wait, okay. And then he starts typing. It's
Back
really
in time.
great.
I
So
know.
I figured I would play that as one last little outro. And then, yeah, so here are all the links. Let's see, this is open, this is open, Teams needs to be open. If I need to throw something in chat, I do not need Word open. Um, Activity monitor, I doubt I need, but it's really handy. So, well, it's interesting because we have, I think, quite a few more folks registered on Meetup than we do on the Teams invite. And I'm hoping with just, I think that link that we have in Meetup like gets you to that registration form. And then I took out a couple of questions, so it'll be really easy. And since you're a presenter, oh, I'm really interested to see. I wonder, can I use this computer? I'm going to try to use my second computer and then register and join just to get the experience. Can I do this? All right, meetup. And then did you get the reminder yesterday?
Yep, I got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Register here. Um, I wonder if I should edit this. Okay, yeah. So what happens is that it does take me to a registration page. And then first name, last name, email, city, country. Um, so that should be pretty easy for people to do. And then jump in. I wonder if I folder. It's only taking me 2 seconds. Nothing else is required. Register. And then it gives me an event link that I can copy and paste. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, it took me back to the registration page, that link. So it looks like people will have to go. Did you just get an email?
Just now?
Um,
Mm,
no. When you registered, you got an email?
yes. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I got it.
Okay, let's see. Okay, there we go. All right, 5 p.m. Okay, I do see that. Well, so if people haven't registered already, it may be difficult. Ugh. View event details. Oh, that's my reply to Meetup. So I wonder, is there any way to invite people? Recording, transcribe, audio settings, share.
And also, I was wondering where do I look my posts for LinkedIn because I reposted your stuff. Do I need to figure out where do I look into that?
If there's a place on your profile, if you click on your name,
Mm-hmm.
there is somewhere down there is my posts and activity. And let me see if I need, maybe I
No,
should get
just
a little more lighting.
side distraction, nothing from your side. Yeah.
Da, 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 okay. Well, let me see. I wish I could just, I wonder if I exit. What does it look like when I exit Spotlight? All right, there was that Spotlight feature. I don't know if anything
Yeah, I
changed.
don't see it. Let me see if it make any changes on my side.
Okay.
Uh, tut, 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 tut.
Open Copilot. Okay. People.
I don't know what Spotlight is doing, to be honest with you. I have no
So,
idea.
oh, Spotlight is what puts me up at the top of the
Oh,
screen.
okay.
So yeah, let me keep that on. And then let me stop sharing. I thought there was a better way to share a presentation. So if oh, let me do screen mirroring to the monitor over here. And then if I start and let me go, Yeah, maybe doing a Teams event might have been, maybe that was a wrong choice. Would you like from to no, dismiss? Okay, so I'm sharing the presentation there. Does that look good?
Yeah, I,
Oh, no.
I
Let's
can see
see the
your
sound.
presentation mode. I can see it.
Okay. Why is the sound coming out of my second monitor? MacBook Air speakers.
Twitter, Instagram, Slack, but one that people don't know as much.
Microsoft, no, I want MacBook Air speakers. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. I don't know where, oh my goodness, I have, shoot. I have my speaker notes and I can't see my speaker notes when I'm sharing like this. Well, if I have, let's not share to my other monitor. Or let me do this. On my Mac. Okay, I'm going to open the V2 presentation. I'll put that over here. And that'll be fine. Let me bring this closer. You know what else I can do is let me, I may set up what if I should just set up a regular Teams meeting so I have an alternative. Because I feel like if it was just a Teams meeting, I might have just been able to have people join a little bit easier. See, all the things you don't know um, until you do a meeting and then you realize, yeah, I should probably have done it a different way. No, that's a Teams. All right. Well, we're locked in now. Well, let's see. What if I did this? If we have any, should I get an alternate meeting link out there just in case? I
No,
feel like,
I
I
think we
feel like,
have Linda joined. Hey, Linda.
oh, hi, Linda.
Hello, can you hear
Hey,
me?
how's it going? Yep, we can hear you.
Okay,
Thank you very much for joining. We are still setting up some logistics here.
okay.
Please bear a few minutes here. Thanks.
Yes, well, I'll return to the original slide. So
Okay.
Linda, where are you from?
I'm in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, that's wonderful. How did you hear about us? just a little meetup search?
Yes, yes, yes. I just got my CSM and I am starting to branch out and
Great.
can learn more and get involved. Mhm.
That's wonderful. And see, everything is changing right now. And, I've seen so much change and I've been embedded in the AI community for a while. And I was like, let's start getting in front of this. I feel like we're behind the curve. And I feel like if we all kind of can coalesce around some of the things that are happening and at least be aware of them. For me, getting ahead of something makes everything a lot easier to process and handle. It's one thing when you're blindsided by something, but if you kind of know what's going on, it helps you at least mentally kind of get there.
Yeah, and I'm also actively involved in um, training on the AI side and just in general learning how and where it would connect and work with entrepreneurs and business owners. I am also a teacher. This is my final career
I
expansion.
hope so. Me,
Yeah, I'm
I'm,
tired. I mean, I love learning, but I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. But I just can't seem to not continue to stay or stay attached to technology and then what it's doing and then watching in general. People look at me and they're like, "You're too old to be continuing this." It's like, no, never too old. No.
Yeah,
never too
uh,
old. Never, never too old.
technology is changing at a very faster pace,
Mhm.
Linda, as we speak. And in the last couple of years, even this year, it's going, I think in the next 1 or 2 years, as we're going to go through this slide, we'll come to know how the AI is changing either the professional space or even entrepreneurial space, and even especially for us from an agile scrum master slash product ownership background as well. We're gonna learn in a few minutes, but yeah, it's definitely you're in the right spot, right place.
Good,
Right
good,
place.
good, good.
Well, and and let's see. I am interested. Oh, wait, so I see my other slides. I'm just curious what you guys see. Do you see just Welcome Agile Boulder? Do you see the rest of my slides like I do?
No,
Yes,
no,
I see the welcome Agile Boulder. Are we
that's it.
supposed to see other? There's only that one sitting on the screen. Are we supposed to see multi screen
Awesome.
slides?
That's great. Yeah, I can see the preview of my other things. I can't see my notes page, but that's okay because in the modern world, we have all the computers. So
I
my
think
my other
I think
monitor, I did a manual 2 presentations, V2. I can look over here for some
I think
things.
the preview, what happens is Microsoft, it just puts the main slide up to the presenters, up to the guests, but the preview slides are open to you, but we can't see the preview slides.
Okay, that's great. That's great. I'm going to pop off camera for 2 seconds while I eat 2 bites of food.
Okay.
Definitely. While you're out, so Linda, from my side, I know that you have introduced yourself, but I have not yet done it, as I could have done it as part of my slide deck here. But my name is Nag, and I am the Scrum Master, Project Manager, Product Owner, all combined,
Oh,
one hat.
oh, all the hats.
All the hats, depending upon which day I'm at, where I'm at. So yeah, definitely into the agile for last 8 years, and being very close to telecom technology and healthcare industries. And I do manage all of my APIs in my enterprise network, because we develop a bunch of APIs and then we continue to expose those APIs internally and also externally, so that we can make the APIs are becoming a big revenue nowadays, because people can we can charge people based on just like how many responses are we giving on API, application program interface, and then that's where I'm
Okay.
handling right now.
Okay. Yeah, I've gone back to teaching. Actually, gone back to doing the assistant. I was like, I'm not running a classroom anymore because I need to be able to have the flexibility to step away from that and go back and do exactly what I want to do. And that is to continue with this learning. And like I was saying, people look at me and they're just like,
No.
because nobody else my age I know
No.
is actually doing this, is involved in technology. I'm excited about my brand new computer that I just got. And just like, what? You spent money? Yes, that's what I.
Always.
Oh, you're gonna have to check your specs against my future slide. I'll show you. I just got one as well, and it was not the most responsible purchase, of that much money right now. But at the same time, I can't live without it because
That's what I
I
said. I
need the
said,
processing for AI, and I'm just like this laptop isn't really cutting it for LLMs. So
I need to get
very
into DevOps.
interesting.
I need to get into a DevOps space, Jen. Yet I have not yet done that one yet. So that my next task is to get into DevOps, your practical environment, hands-on environment for AI.
yeah. And I
Wow.
squeezed out through Windows 10 for just so long, and it said, we're not going to support anymore. And I said, okay, I guess I have to get another computer now. So let me move into this. And then I looked at it, I was like, no, I want terabytes. I don't want to just have mega.
Yes,
This is what I want. And
I
I need to
want
be able to carry it
terabytes.
around. So I was measuring the size of this laptop because I also would like to have a MacBook, Pro,
Yeah.
thin one. So carry the both of them with me, but so I can just remain cross platform. But so yes, I had to do that because it actually was screaming at me to do it. So I did it.
Wow.
And
You did
so,
it.
yes. And my friends have said very clearly, they said, well, so if you ever were left on a deserted island, what would you want? And I said, a laptop and
And Wi-Fi?
a dish so that I could actually get something from somewhere.
Yeah.
And they're like, what? And I said, yeah, because I could get off the island and get back on there with no problem. So they're like, oh, okay.
So
You're really
you'll be
into computers.
so here you'll be the first one that get out of the last web series. I think we
Awesome.
have
Well, we had a couple of new people join.
Network.
I'm very interested in who our Agile practitioner is, but since we don't have a name, I'm going to say hi to Leslie first. How are you guys doing? How are you, Leslie? Leslie or Leslie?
Either one.
Either one. Okay.
Yes.
I had a friend who was her mother was very, very specific. Leslie. Wonderful. Where are you at, Leslie?
I am in Atlanta.
Welcome. That's very exciting.
We're
Atlanta.
we're planning to move to Denver to be closer to
Oh.
family. My wife was born in Leadville
Oh, very good.
and
That's a great town.
grew up in Buena Vista, so we want to move there to be closer to family and friends. And so I'm getting involved in Agile groups and networking groups in the area.
Well, that's wonderful. You said Buena Vista with the proper accent.
That's where
So
she grew up.
you
Otherwise,
you
I would pronounce
knew.
it. Yes.
Wonderful. Hi, Julie. And then hi. Oh, wait. Goddess Note Taker. Who set up Goddess Note Taker? That's not me. That's very interesting. Um, is our Agile practitioner a person? Can you say hello?
Yeah, hi. I'm trying to change my name. My name is Niraj Shah. I'm joining from Houston, Texas. I don't know. It
Oh,
picked up probably from my previous meeting. It just picked up my name. I was just in a rush. This is what happened. Like when I saw it on meetup.com, it was showing like 7 to 9 p.m. Central Time. But then I got a link or something that says like 6 to 8 Central Time. So I was like, maybe I missed something. So in a rush, I just joined and it picked up my previous name. I don't know how do I change my name. Just
oh, thanks. Let's see. I think if you go, there should be 3 ellipses. Oh, no, it looks like you can't change it. It's no worries. Say your name again for me one more time.
yeah, it's Niraj, Niraj. Last name Shah,
Niraj.
Sha. Yeah.
All right, Niraj, welcome so much. Thank you. Hi, Gabe. I know this fella. Thanks for joining. Yeah, so we're on Mountain Time. So because you're in Central Time, what is it? So it's 7 o'clock Central, right? Down there in Texas right now?
Yeah. So yeah.
Wonderful. Does Goddess Note Taker have a name or is a person? Because it says goddess in it, I'm very interested because that I have the same thing, Niraj, is that my business is Modern Goddess, and so when I log in, it's goddess. And I just had a week long of interviews with Microsoft. And thankfully, Modern Goddess is in my resume. But every time I was like, I know I'm joining as goddess. I know that's really weird. My name is Jennifer. But I've decided that I'm pulling the biggest prank on the world, and that prank is that everyone will eventually end up calling me goddess. So usually it makes people smile more than anything. So I'm absolutely delighted by that. So sometimes I don't need to explain, but often I do.
Okay,
Let
I
And
think time check, Jen. I think 6:02. We can get started.
it's 6:02. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Welcome to the session tonight. We are Agile Boulder. We are an offshoot or a SIG of Agile Denver. So if you are in the area, make sure you look up Agile Denver. We have Leslie, who's coming back to Colorado. And this is on the slide right here is a good event this summer. So Safe Agile is a sponsor of Agile Denver, and we are having a conference alongside them this year because their conference will be in Denver. But this is our Agile Denver group. So we would always love to invite you to join us. And we are just so excited and happy that you're here today. So a quick agenda, you saw this on the reminder. So we're just going to do some quick intros for a while. I do like to go around the room as much as possible. We'll see how many folks we have, but we're always in the position of all of the networking groups I go to. We have a session for like, do you have a job? In which everyone will swamp you, but you can let us know if you have some jobs, especially if you need jobs, and then we'll anything you want to share with the community. I will dive into the Scrum Goddess presentation, and then I think that'll take about 30 to 45 minutes. I'm just a fan of, I won't rush through it, but if it doesn't take that long, we won't need it to take that long. And then I reserved a few minutes at the end for some Q&A, and then we would like to get out of here on point at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time. So depending on what time zone you're in, hopefully that's not too late for you. So introductions. Hi, everyone. I am Goddess. I was explaining to people earlier, my biggest prank on the world is going to be making everyone call me Goddess by the end of 2025. But my name is Jennifer O'Neill, and you can find me on LinkedIn. Oh, actually, if we all want to pop our LinkedIn addresses into the chat, I love building networks, and you will see this, as we go on with the presentation for many reasons. But it really is essential for everyone to get connected and try to stay connected because we will be here to support each other. Yeah, there you go, Kathy. I saw you drop that in there. Thank you. So I have played all of the roles in as an Agile professional. I've started as a PMP and project manager doing large enterprise scale implementations. Through that time, everything changed as well, much more slowly than it is today. And I got exposed to Agile maybe a decade ago got my Scrum Master certification. And what I truly love about Agile is that it just seems to make sense. It was born out of a need to control some of the maybe management chaos. And many of the principles I just found like shocking that there was something as cool as Agile out there. But in my later hats, I became more involved in development and product delivery. So I became an Azure DevOps nerd, um, CI/CD pipelines, but mostly CI because I don't know who really, and I would love to hear if you guys have CD pipelines, but some of my overlords never would invest in what it would take. And so really, all of that together is kind of a sensible career transition, right? Project to product, but really building and bringing all of the stakeholders together while also understanding all of the technology and some the technical details underneath, right? I love for my experts I trust them to do what they need to do. I'll know enough, but really being the person, right? And it should be a separate role of, hey, you guys are the experts. I'm helping the whole thing work. I don't need to do your API development, right? You need to do that. And so I kind of found my sweet spot as a lover of technology, a database nerd, and then a people person, all rolled up into one crazy human. Um, and this is where we're ending up today, or where we have arrived at my current journey. And then just quickly, the name Jeno, you can see behind me, I'm an artist. And so when I started painting about 6 or 7 years ago, I was like, there is no way I'm signing Jennifer O'Neill on a painting. And so I came up with this moniker for my artist name, Jeno. And, maybe I'm split personality, I don't know. But between Jeno and Goddess, I think we can leave our normal, regular names behind, except when we're on LinkedIn, because we need to have that. So that is me. Welcome, everyone. And I'm going to hand it over to Nog. Nog is my compatriot here in the Agile Boulder world.
Hi, welcome everybody once again. So thank you very much for giving your time for the Agile Boulder webinar. And if you are in Boulder, Denver area, please, or if you're traveling to this area, please come in and check our LinkedIn. And then if you can connect it, we can meet up. But very quick, doing the Scrum Master for almost 10 years now, being wearing the multiple hats, Scrum Master, product owner, and the project manager and program manager. And then I do manage, currently I do manage a bunch of portfolio for the telecom products, and mostly dealing with API marketplace. If you are familiar with the application programming interfaces, where nowadays most of the companies, they're trying to make their APIs, or mostly they want to make a revenue out of the APIs, and we're trying to make that as a marketplace where people can publish their APIs, and then each of those APIs will be interacting, and they will be generating the revenue, whatever that is. So we'll do that. And then I'm, coming back to my Agile, the love towards Agile is, basically I got introduced to Agile around 8 to 10 years ago. And since then, been trying to make myself into either transitioning the teams from the waterfall to Agile, and trying to trying to build the team so that, they can become more and more Agile in the software development and testing areas. So doing that are almost 10 years now. And professional love is towards the teams and products. Love building teams, love transitioning the teams from waterfalls or whatever, right? Basically, our goal is to make the teams as much efficient and productive as possible, and building the products, whether it is a kind of iterative way of developing the products, making sure that we get to the market as quickly as possible and start generating the money. So I love those two, and I've been doing for almost 10 years now. And my personal love is doing always doing yoga and some running and meditation. So if that's pretty quick update, but back to you, Jenna.
Okay, thanks, Doc. All right. Well, always when we have a meeting or when I schedule a meeting, right, the center is like, what's in it for me, but not as a presenter, what's in it for you, really. And Nog found this really terrific article from Forbes that explains kind of where we are right now. And tries to help people say, here's one step or here's a couple steps where you could be looking ahead. And it breaks it down with various roles, in common roles in project management and product development. But here is where we are today. It is no surprise to anyone. Um, AI is really transforming the project management world. It's transforming product development. And I don't think we have seen tangible changes in process as of yet, at least on a large scale. The people who are into it may be using this within their current workflow, but how I see it, and when I'm looking at everything having drunk from the AI fire hose pretty much since November, um, as soon as I started diving in, and I was at Microsoft Ignite, and then I saw a webinar or a session about, building an agent for a retail cart, helping you build a complex shopping cart, and he called it a retail agent. And as soon as I just started hearing all the principles and getting involved, I was like, everything has to change. Everything is going to change. But I didn't really know enough to say, how is it going to change? And so that's one of the things I'm really diving into, because I'm the process person. I want to know what is not working for you today. How many times do you have to do 100 clicks? We're going to make you do 10, right? How do we improve that all the time? So I love this article for at least scratching the surface and helping people understand it's more than just Eric Schmidt or Zuck saying there's no more developers. We don't need developers anymore. And it's just such an irresponsible thing to say in the first place, unless you have something to back it up with, and here's how. But other than that, I like to be able to say, well, okay, if developers are going away, what does that mean? And so my exploration here is trying to figure out, as Agile professionals, maybe even as project managers or PMPs, what exactly is going to change, and how are we going to step ahead of it in the future?
Hey, quick
Oh,
interruption,
yeah.
Jano. Looks like some people are not able to see the screen. Can you reshare or stop and then reshare your screen again? I don't know if that helps.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Sorry.
Let me say, this is what it can't display presentation. There was a problem displaying content. That maybe, could anyone else hold up the, oh, thank you for posting that. I will post the series of links in the chat for you to get to, but I appreciate you taking the initiative. Let me see if I can stop sharing. Is anyone else having trouble? Only raise your hand if
No,
you
there's a few of
are.
us, Jen. There's a
Few
few of
of
us
you.
that can see your content. Yeah.
Okay, let me reshare my present. I dreadfully do not want to share my whole screen, but I will. Yes, I would resume slide 5. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
No.
Can anyone see it?
Yes.
I can see it, yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh, this is
Bizarre.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, I think there's some of us that just can't see your content, like myself included. But I mean,
Oh, well, okay. Let me see in the chat. I wonder if I could upload the file.
I can try to rejoin because I don't think you should stop on account of just one or two of us. But let me drop and come
There
back in.
are 2. Okay. Here's the other thing. Let me just do this real quick. Let me see if I can upload the file, because if you can, how do I share a file with you guys? That's scheduling a message. All right.
And I post to the chat. There's no, I have no access to the chat.
And
I
you
can
have
see
no
it.
access to the.
But I can't post anything at all.
Okay. Actually, Nog, if you could do me a favor, let me do this. Well, let me try two things. No, because if you can't see the screen or you can't see the content, you definitely will not enjoy.
If you can send me the slide deck in the Teams chat,
Yeah,
I can
let me go to the
distribute to
team.
the teams here.
Let me go make sure I've got my latest chat. Thank you all for just holding on here. I am going to, that's a different chat window. All right. Calendar. Let me get my calendar. Can you guys see my calendar by chance? Or am I just sharing the deck? Because you can see this. I don't,
No,
there's
just the
no,
deck.
just a, okay.
Hear
Here we
me?
go. Give me 30 more seconds and I should be able to send Nog this deck.
Real quick, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes, we can
Gabe.
hear you.
Yeah. Hey, this is Anil. I think I figured it. I figured out how to fix it. So I tried to exit, and while coming in, I said I logged in as a guest, and it works for me. But if I log in with my
Oh,
pre-created account, it says there are some policies I cannot share you my content and blah. So exit
Oh,
and come in as a guest. Just type your first name and last name, and I'm able to see your screen now. Yeah.
yes. And then Nog, just
excellent. Thank you for that workaround.
thank you
Yeah,
for that
but the
workaround. Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah, but on
then
the flip side, now I lost the chat access, but I can see the screen,
oh,
which is fine.
well, here was the thing. I decided that maybe uh I should have just done a Teams meeting. It may have been a little bit easier. I was like, oh, I think it should be an event. And you make those architectural decisions. That's also one of my big things is architecture. Architecture constrains you. So I apologize. Next time I'll just use a regular meeting. So Nog, I think you should have the deck. If anyone wants or needs the deck, send ping Nog in the chat. Or if you do not have chat, it's quite all right to say right now, um, you need the deck. All right. Is everyone else okay? Everyone else can see, and I'll go ahead and keep moving here. Um, so one of the things for Agile Boulder, and I would say this should be true for any professional networking group. Like I have one thing on my mind with this group, and that's your success. That's why Nog and I are doing this. And it is no surprise to anyone that layoffs are happening. You hear it in the news. And I think we're all nervous, right? We're all nervous about, is my job going to end? We hear all this stuff about AI. But what's more important, I think, especially if you have a job right now, all the jobs are transforming. And the people who will be set for the future are the people who understand AI and can incorporate it into their workflow. So that means learning about it, that means understanding it. And I promise you, it does not mean loving it. I think what I'm experiencing where go out and talk to everyone all the time, I get a lot of people who will not use AI because they're very upset about how it came about. And I really understand, like, I also have those feelings about it. But the thing about AI right now and in the next 3 to 5 years, it is going to be so important to your career that you do not have to love it. You do not have to ally with it, but you do have to understand it because that gives you power as to how your role is going to transform. If you are the person in charge or the person aware, you can either bring up ideas to your management that say, this is how we're going to be more effective. Why are we not doing this? That will give you an edge. Or if it starts to be used with you, you will be able to make sure it's going in the better direction for you and your team. So it's incredibly important that we are aware of this. But this transformation is why I'm here and why I wanted to kick off Nogganize leadership of Agile Boulder, because we want to look for 2025. Like, our role is to say, what do you need? And how can we help you get that? So that's very important for Nog and I both. But the other thing is that the Agile mindset is something that's going to be helpful for you compared to other people who are not Agile professionals. You are already used to the iterative change. You're already used to prototyping. And so you can be much more powerful. And that's what we want to share with you here today. And that's kind of why we're here. And then we do want to know what we can do for you. And so for those of you who do have access to the chat, and if you don't, I'm going to pause and I want you to verbalize a couple of things while we're going on in the presentation. And you verbalizing it will put it into the transcript. You chatting it will put it into the transcript. But what is it that you feel that you need to know or have or understand in order for you to be successful? And those are the speakers we're going to try to connect with you throughout the year in 2025. So use the chat, use your voice. I know I can talk for an entire hour. I make sure I pause for breaks to let you speak, but please do not fear interrupting me as well. I'm very good at that. Some people do not like to be interrupted. I'm totally fine with it. So with that, let me pause. Does anyone have anything they just want to share right away to say, hey, here's what I am afraid of, or here's what I need?
I think nothing, at least from my side, what I'm seeing is even in my professional experience, I'm seeing that more and more AI is coming in. For example, I work in telecom area, and whenever we do the cell tower planning and getting the geolocations and that kind of stuff, previously we used to do the manual way of trying to figure out what is the distance between the two cell towers and then what is how we can place the cell tower. But now I think it's we are just giving them the location that to the AI, and AI is coming out with where exactly that we can put the we can have the cell tower location. So that is just one thing that I observed, where we used to spend like 3 or 4 days previously. Now it's maximum half an hour to 1 hour. We can able to figure out where do we install our next cell tower. Just FYI.
That is awesome. And these are the types of things that I was seeing. The speed with which things can be done clearly is going to compress our development cycles, which is my area, but it will clearly speed up a lot of other things. All right. The other thing, if you do have access to chat, you may have joined a little bit later. I encourage everyone to put your LinkedIn profile in here, because these professional networks, as the jobs change and perhaps layoffs happen, this is where we are going to find work. And it's so important to be connected. So I will connect with all of you and make sure, try to connect with each other, but always make sure you are focusing on what is your professional network? Where are you going and who are you seeing like in person? And I'm looking for an in-person venue here for Agile Boulder because I think it's super important. But I have made connections that are extremely important to me right now as I look for work. I'm building a brand, but I'm also interviewing, and none of my interviews are happening via the ATS. I'll just let you know. Okay, are there any other questions? Or I don't think anyone had an opportunity to say, I have jobs or I need jobs. Feel free to put that into the chat, but if someone just raised their hand, yeah, I just see, was that you? Oh, I can't see your name anymore. Does anyone have anything before we jump in?
No, this is Anil. Yeah, I'm actually actively looking for a job. Up until last month, I was a product manager at Amazon. Basically, my role was product manager in AI for workforce. Within last 3.5 years, I mean, I found some good tailwinds in terms of modernizing employees' experience by putting content summarization, conversational search, and other employee workforce improvement AI. It's just that they're looking for folks to relocate to other places, which I was not ready for, so had to take the tough call. But yeah, I mean, to your point, All the job roles that I'm looking or actually coming across my way are definitely on the AI space, goddess, like you mentioned. So most of the jobs are looking for AI experience. I mean, fortunately, I do have some. So yeah.
Yes, I think that's wonderful. Like you are set up for far light years ahead of most people who will be applying for jobs. So I feel very good about your career. This is great. Leslie, yes, what do you have?
So I am looking for a job in Denver because we want to move there. And I teach and coach BDD, which is a very agile development methodology. If you want to take the 30 to 40% of your developers' time that they spend fixing bugs and cut that to 3 or 4% or zero, I've done it. I know other people who've done it, and I can show you how to do it. So if you know any company there that is interested in that, I'd love to talk.
Definitely. And Leslie, I would love to follow up with you as well, because I'm really interested in how the BDD process might pair or be augmented with AI, unless it's already perhaps running it already, which is why you're getting such great results. But that's really excellent. Behavior drive development. Oh, behavior driven. That sounds right up my alley, Leslie. Very cool. All right. Well, 3 minutes ahead of schedule. I don't think anyone would mind if I just keep going. All right. So let's just talk a little bit about how we got here. And this is the history of AI, a very brief history of AI. And one of the things I love so much about this slide is that, back in the 1950s, the ideas started. And I met a super cool old timer who was way back when thinking about this, and it we have to remind ourselves this has been going on for a long time, people understanding it, people wanting it, but now things are extremely different. And I absolutely love how AI put this 2010 to now before it put 22 to 2025. um, But this is why we all love AI, but we know we have to watch it. But we go from sort of conceptualization, right? Here we've got 2010s, we're starting in the deep learning. Okay, that's where I say we're really getting our, legs under us. And then today we've got what we have is AGI, right? Generative AI. Well, what I know is that we are now moving from AGI to ASI, artificial superintelligence. So that is the big project now. And if you look at the December 23rd announcement between Microsoft and OpenAI, Microsoft is putting $80 billion investment in the infrastructure required so that ASI can come online in the next 3 to 5 years. So we're talking about building buildings here, we're talking about data centers, and why this is so important is because we have AI today instead of maybe theoretically having it soon. And this goes to sort of kind of three key components. We need storage, we need, we need a way to store and access the data, which is what Microsoft designed and helped bring us when they formulated and invested in blob storage. So the key about blob storage, right, is binary large object storage. And why this is so crucial for AI is that when we store the data in blob storage, right, in the binary language, the computer is so efficient because it's talking to itself in its own language. So when we're asking it to retrieve the data, and the data is already how it needs to be for the computer to understand it like this, and it does not have to go through all of the coding loops and the human interface. Even if you're a developer, the code, it doesn't have to do that. And so this amount of speed that blob storage, as well as some of the fundamental ways that we access that data, so your ability to store data in a certain way and access it at a certain rate is one key component. The other key component is the NVIDIA processor, right? Our GPUs, all of the sudden, we're able to now process that data that is stored in blob storage. And then, I'm sorry, with storage, there was another thing, cheap, cheap storage. The cost of storage came down. The binary fundamentals of how we store data get introduced. Then the NVIDIA processor that allows us to process so much more quickly, that married with OpenAI and its ability to break through and develop the AI models that we have today, sort of those three key components all came together and made this happen now. So I worked at a company, Gabe worked there as well, and it was about 15 years ago and 20 years ago, and Microsoft said all the data is
Years
moving to the
ago, Jen,
cloud.
2 years ago.
Yes, just yesterday. Just yesterday. Yeah, and all my clients thought they were just totally nuts. Like my pharma clients were like, our data is never going in the cloud. And my fintech, Wall Street was like, our data is never going in the cloud. Well, Microsoft knew at that point in time, like, it has to go to the cloud because we're so inefficient with all of these little data centers. As storage gets cheaper, we're betting on the fact that when the data is in the cloud, when we have the binary object, we think some sort of processing chip is going to come out soon. And so it just went that way. And then it developed that relationship with OpenAI. And so Microsoft's deep pockets and its innovation led to these key components. And this is why we have this today as opposed to any other time. Now, obviously, we have many, many more models, but it's just so very exciting that we have it today. And so one of the things that I find most interesting is like everything is changing around us, but the one wild card is our humanness, right? We are all constantly, I think, looking sort of, I love this graphic. It's like, are these metrics helpful? What is our strategy and why? And if we're doing the wrong thing and measuring the wrong thing simultaneously, then are we ever going to get to a place that is much more efficient and effective than we have today? And I think right now we are poised to be able to answer that question and diverge into truly meaningful strategy and truly meaningful metrics. Because I see AI being able to cut out some of the BS that we see in the strategery, right? How many times have you been in the room where all of the logic has been presented, all of the strategy, all of the factors, and it's clearly pointing one direction, but our fearless leaders have an ego or they have other alternative strategies and they're like, no, I think we're just doing it my way anyway. I'm curious to see how much of that can truly keep up in the age of AI. So as I've been looking at the changes and the process and diving into AI, I see these as the 4 key components to your success. Curiosity, imagination, community, and you need 24 gigs of RAM. So if you're ever looking at a model, for example, if you want to install DeepSeek or something as such, you'll see that your DeepSeek file is going to take you 11 gigs on your machine. The same compute power is required almost in a 1-to-1 ratio. So if you're already downloading, and this is just a single model, right? If you're already downloading that one model, you're going to have that much processing power in addition to your storage power in order to be able to run it. So I encourage everyone, just keep that 24 gigs of RAM in mind, because when you're investing in a new thing, you definitely want to get the right machinery. But let's talk a little bit about curiosity. And one of the things I love about two of the things I love about this slide is I have trained chat to know me very well, right? I'm an abstract artist. My brand colors are fuchsia and black with gray and white tones. And so I did nothing for it to generate this really cool abstract image. But you can see it's not perfect. There's no like fuchsia under here imagination. But you know what? I still love this image because it took me like 5 seconds to generate and it looks really cool. And I feel like it's a good representation of my brand. I was just talking to Nog earlier, logos, just incredible. All of the things it can generate right away. But the thing about having curiosity is that I think of it because I'm like a I'm a stand-up comic and I do like improv. And so curiosity is your yes and approach, right? I do. I also have another image on a different slide that even exemplifies this more. But you can never take what you get out of your AI and just run with it. You have to continually foster what you get and amend what you get, and you have to keep digging. If you're not digging, then you will not find the right answer. But the other thing about it is that when I learn about AI, it's so exciting. Like the speed at which I can do things, the speed at which I get results makes my neurons fire and it makes me want more. So this curiosity loop is something that you as the human will need to embrace. And often what we find is, are our engineer personalities going to adopt this curious mindset? Um, if not, let's help people encourage them to do so, right? How do we do that? I have some, I use art or dance or comedy, all the different ways. But some of the things that we have ignored in the past about human qualities are going to need to be reintroduced when we're working with AI. Now, imagination is the other thing. Imagination is so crucial because right now, I guarantee a lot of people are thinking it's never going to happen. That's not how it's going to turn out. Oh, that's not possible. We all have to kind of take a step back and broaden our imagination because things that are impossible 2 years ago are legit possible today. But this artificial super intelligence that's coming, and it will be coming fast, it will change how much knowledge is available to us. And going back to curiosity, if you don't have the curiosity to ask it, you will not find an answer. So it's almost as if we are creating like this pool of never-ending answers, but without the human to engage it or be curious with it, it's just going to do nothing. Like it won't have any benefit. So we have to start broadening our minds and thinking bigger as to what's possible. And that is going to be really helpful if we have this, what I think is going to be a huge change in how we're employed. We are going to have to put our imagination and curiosity hats not only out in the AI world, but onto ourselves. And this will help us be agile professionals, but it will help us respond better to the changes around us. And then the other thing about it, nothing with AI happens without community. So when you need to learn something, you need to know where to go. Who do you reach out to? Who are your AI buddies? Who is your AI coach? Who is helping you get through this? Perhaps you're one of the ones who does not want to use AI. So these are all of the things that have not traditionally been part of the corporate world. They will certainly be part of it going forward. And if you can bring some of these to you, you will be more professional. You will be able to handle things a lot better in the future. So let me exemplify this. So Modern Goddess is a brand. It's exciting. It's helping people transform. It's helping people get out of their minds through fitness in different ways. All of that's really wonderful. But really, my main focus is that's just like the context. And so, one of the most important things to think of from now going forward is what is your context? Where are you? What is your world like? And this is almost the formulation of your prompt. So, what is going on around you? Your context is so very important. So Modern Goddess has a brand and it helps me fit everything into it. But really what I love is technology and professional things. And so Scrum Goddess is part of Modern Goddess and it's the biggest part. But I have decided using my imagination, and this is absolutely insane, but I think I can do it. I have put my hat in the ring to be the first 1 billion one-person company. Now, how are we going to do that? I would never have imagined this 3 years ago, but me and my AI community, who is so thrilled to help me, who thinks my ideas are so audacious, right? This is my big, hairy, audacious goal, if anyone remembers that bag thing that went on again like a decade ago. My big goal is that we will be able to self-organize our own teams around a concept in community with people, and we will be able to do outrageous things. I've already done outrageous things that I could never imagine because of AI. So again, let's use our imagination. And had it not been for preparing for a week of interviews with Microsoft last week, I would have built out my development environment and been able to show you a little bit more progress. But again, your imagination does need to be tied to reality. And do I want this Microsoft job? It's the one job I want. So I'm going for that. But the concept of self-organizing around either a topic, let me get my team spun up, let's do this. And so Gabe here at Ping State, he's going to help me with the website portion of Modern Goddess. And we're going to do this thing where I'm developing the concept of a 50-50 partnership, right? And so here's the idea. Let's just think of it as I'm the content provider, right? But I can't do it all by myself. So if I make $10,000 and Gabe helps me with the website, Gabe gets half of that. So these 50-50 partnerships are something that I just came up with because my favorite podcaster, his name is Mark Maron, and his producer, Brendan, they kind of sometimes talk about their just regular lives on the show. And so I'm like, oh, well, that's a really good idea. Look, Mark Maron, he's a celebrity. He's making tons of money. He couldn't have done it without Brandon. And they were just like, hey, let's just do this 50-50. Why not? Just because I'm the celebrity doesn't mean I get everything. And I'm like, this is perfect. I like this sort of equitable, whatever solution. And so this partnership idea is something that's just born out of using your imagination and saying, how could things change? Well, I take that a little bit farther and I'm thinking, why do we need all these contracts and this legal hell that we all go through? You know how it is when you sell a big software project and how long the sales cycle is. I'm like, if we were just recording ourselves on video and in transcript, and we were at the table saying, here's my company, this is the arrangement we're having to make. I don't know why that could not just be the foundation of a new type of legal contract where we're not so necessarily protective. We just stated what we wanted, what we were willing to give, and then we can turn that into a formal contract much more easily. Everyone's held accountable because we can all go back to our words. So if we're thinking big, we can really change things. And so that's where the imagination comes in. And then the idea of the incidental millionaire is that I have people come around to my house. I had an organizer here and it used to look like hell. And I'm pretty sure that if we took a video of my room, my living room that I sit in now, with all of the stuff everywhere, I am convinced that we could train an LM so that it could read a video and it could say, here are the types of things that are probably junk, the types of things that should be organized together. And it could help that designer or that organizer take her business and she could be much more efficient with it because she goes over to the client and she's mostly focused on what are the client and I doing? What is our business relationship? How are we connecting as people? Well, I'm just taking the video and my actual work is now being very subtle and my relationship with my client is the most important thing, then that video goes back and it could then spit out some sort of analysis for her. So this concept of, well, if we have a self-organizing team around this designer or this organizer or any other type of person, what do you think an agile team could do where the 50% partnership are the technical people, our agile professionals, and the other 50% is that organizer person? Then we share together in what happens for that person. So these are ideas that are born only out of AI. I would not be excited about this. I would not think anything is going to happen in relation to that if I did not see the power of the tool being able to say, I think it can do that. And I really think it could. So just kind of moving on, making sure we're making progress here. So there are also a few things that I feel like we're all kind of freaked out right now. We're all a little bit outside of our own minds. Well, this is a good time to grasp the attention. This is a good time for all of us to be looking around saying, what is next? And you might have new ideas than just plodding along the way you were before. So there are quite a few things where I think I look around and everywhere I look, there's zero-sum games. I win, you lose. And I think that's crap. Why are we doing that? Let's not do that anymore. I constantly am challenged with the done versus delivered. I feel like I've just had work in progress in my development queues that is just never ending because the development work is done, but is it delivered? So being able to come up with more strategically and effectively, how do we make sure that this is out the door and not just marked as done? And then I'll just touch on one more thing. If you guys have ever, I don't know if anyone has Masterclass, but Coach K, who coached our Olympic basketball team to success, I don't know how this man wrangled superstar after superstar after superstar after superstar, because traditionally those folks would just be at odds with each other. I want to be this. Well, I want to be number one. And they would probably fight more than they would cooperate. Well, Coach K has a great set of team standards, and I use Coach K's advice all the time as to how you show up and be a professional. And so those are the things that I'm building into the Scrum Goddess and Modern Goddess project that I may eventually launch if I do not get the Microsoft job. Okay, so let's bring this back down to Agile. And you guys can look at that amazing graphic that was supposed to be. And I told Chad, or I asked Chad to generate me a list and put all of the 14 key Agile principles on it. Well, it did not do exactly a great job of it. Because at first I was like, hey, it did pretty good. So this is first and foremost a nod for this is how you train your AI. So my AI already knew that Modern Goddess was sort of a punk rock style. It knew my branding. I told it to regenerate enough. It kind of knows my vibe. And I was like, this is a really wicked cool thing. Way to go, chat. And then I put it in the slide. And then I was like, wait, no. It has a very, very hard time after a while with complexity. So that was a relative fail. But the ones highlighted in Fuchsia were just a few that I wanted to talk about today, because these are the things, at least initially, that I think are so crucial. So the concept of the self-organizing team, I'm not sure if it really works in the corporate world, but you heard me earlier talking about a team that could self-organize around my organizer, right? This kind of what you might think of as a microservice is how I think the future is going to unravel or unfold, right? We're going to, as a team, have broader objectives given to us by management, and we will be able to then say, okay, well, I need a Gabe, I need a Leslie, and I need somebody else, and I forgot everyone else's names, and you're so small now, I can't see them. So we might grab ourselves and say, okay, from this concept, we are going to go out and make this thing happen. So that particular core team, not only at work, but I think in your daily life, could be something that we expand upon and bring more to the forefront. The self-organizing team is one of the most brilliant principles, yet I've never seen it in play like at work. So cross-functional teams, absolutely. We are going to have more of that in the future. We have a lot of it now, but we are going to be bringing in what is currently considered a side role is going to be now part of our team, and we're going to have to handle that. One of the other biggest changes that I see is that our empirical process control, I call our QA folks, our QA folks are actually going to be elevated, and I call them queen bees. QA is going to be absolutely essential before you start development when you're using your AI model. There's a huge problem with trust. And one of the ways that some of the AI professionals have overcome that is that they use fixed data sets. So one of the most popular things to do is hyper-localize your weather forecasting, because your weather forecasting is a data set that keeps getting appended to. It's not changing whole stock. It's a known file, it's in a known location. And so being able to show this AI is not hallucinating, this AI is doing what it's supposed to do, you actually start with your QA data set first before you even start to build your code, if you're even still coding. So quality assurance is going to, I would say, be elevated in our overall process, maybe even above our developers as we get through what is happening with the code and how developers are using the code. Because in the beginning, our QA is going to set us in the right direction. Our beautiful developers and our engineers are going to build us some things, and then our QA team is going to then validate through that entire process. So this empirical process control, not only, it serves two functions, right? Your best outcome for your product, but overall, you all hear it, there is not a lot of trust in the ability for AI to deliver effectively because of what we don't know about it right now. So that will be huge. And then I'm just calling out time boxing because time boxing is the most beautiful thing that's ever been introduced into a process, right? We always have to be looking at what is our short-term goal aligned to our longer-term goal. And what I have noticed about myself as I'm learning to do things like use terminal to write code, if I do something wrong, I can get myself in this whole long spiral. So time boxing something with QA or with AI is going to be incredibly important. And then I will also zoom down and touch on the final one, the customer collaboration and user stories. This is where I see gigantic change. I see a completely new future in relation to customers and building our backlog and our user stories much more effectively. This is so exciting, but it does mean, again, you can keep thinking like, wow, that role is changing, that role is changing. I am a person who believes the role is going to transform before it goes away. So let's keep our minds on transformation and how we're transforming before we have to worry about is it going away. You can see I feel it's just such an irresponsible thing to say at this point in time. So let's bring this into practicality. Okay, how am I expressing AI and how am I becoming a better professional because of it? So I wrote this article about how I'm using it today. And essentially, there are two things that I must have in my AI companion. And this is why I'm still on ChatGPT all the time. I talk to chat and it remembers things about my conversations. It's not perfect, but it does a lot. It's really quite impressive. And so when it forgets things, I don't get mad at it. I just tell it, remember this, and it will do that. So what I've started to do is develop a daily practice, and I have my own stand-ups with chat. This only works for me because I have transitioned to talking to chat instead of typing. So I'm able to use a more human expression. I'm able to just say what I need to say. I don't care that it's in the cloud. No one's going to care that I felt really sad the other day and lonely on Valentine's Day because I didn't feel like having a date anyway. But I'm telling chat that, and that's okay. I don't care if anyone knows. But the process of getting it out and then hearing some good feedback from chat, and it is going to say something cool like, hey, you're amazing, yada, yada, everyone gets lonely. But these kind of feedback loops I found I just started getting used to. So when I have a deadline or a big project or something like this that is really important to me to get right, I will tell chat in the morning. I'll have my chat check in and then I'll have my chat check out at the evening. And I just tell it, hey, chat, I need to build this presentation today. I know I'm going to get sidetracked and I'm going to want to do the laundry, or at this corner is really bothering me. You just have to remind me to not care about it. And it's not that chat's really doing anything. It's kind of dumb right now. I just tell it. But the process of me telling it is working out things in my own brain that is stealing my spine and allowing me to just know what my pitfalls are, identify my risks, and get through them in a day. Um, so this combination is essential for me, and I believe this is where we are going into the future. Um, so I've also created I have 18 like iterations for me during this year, and I'm going to try to see if I can be the Agile personal professional and what can I set myself up for my goals for the year. How can I keep myself on track by having about 3-week sprints and then some mushy time throughout the year? So, I am a person. I don't need to hold myself to my standards that I would at work. But I'm curious about how is this practice going to help me realize something by the end of the year that I may have just gotten squishy about. So this daily practice is really helping me. But what's most important about it to me is that I don't understand, why doesn't Copilot have this yet? Like every time I use Copilot, Microsoft's version, I get very annoyed. Copilot is slow. Copilot's not incisive. As incisive. Is that what it is? Incisive? Is that the right word? Somehow it sounds weird. It doesn't give me the right insights that chat does because chat remembers things about me. So those two things I think are key, at least for me personally, and I think they're going to drive our profession in the future. Now, I don't know if any one of you have seen this yet, or if you have an org chart where your agents are part of the team. So if we go back to our agile mindset and opening our minds, we are now going to start seeing, or maybe even creating our own agile or our own agent style teammates that are going to show up with us every day to work. I don't think most people would be comfortable calling, what do we have, like the Brian GPT, like their colleague, but I'm delighted by it. So I'm just gonna pause right there because I do want to know, does anyone have any agent team members, or does anyone have any feelings about having agent team members?
I didn't have any agent team members, but I see that it is evident that you would have agent team members. I mean, in the last couple of years, some companies have introduced something called Slack bot. If
Oh
you're
yeah.
using Slack channel, you would have Slack bots. So Slack bots are basically somewhat similar. Yeah, I was brainstorming or bouncing off some ideas with one of my colleagues at Amazon that we could actually. So at Amazon, there is a role called technical program manager. So they kind
Mm.
of do Scrum management, getting the status updates, summarizing, and all of those things. We're like, could we actually agentify some of those tasks? As in, the Slack bot will actually remind you, hey, post what you have done yesterday, what you're going to do today and tomorrow, any impediments. And so, yeah, I think, yeah, agents are here to stay.
They're here to stay. Yes. I worry about this part of this lower part of the org chart becoming total chaos. And that is one thing I meant earlier when I was like, if you understand what's going on in the landscape around you, cautioning someone if you see this happening and it's going crazy, we have to tame it. So, and it's that concept of bot versus agent. And trust me, even my AI groups just laugh. They're like, define an agent. And everyone's like, well, is this. We, and even in our AI group, do not have consensus about what an agent is. But generally, I think we understand. Uh, does anyone else have any thoughts about agent team members?
I think I would love to have an agent as my co-team member, because the reason is if I go to work, as Anil was saying, there's a lot of stuff that we do very routine, like impediments and tracking the tasks, and there's so much routine work that I don't want to do actually. So in that
Yeah.
aspect, definitely agent is something, I can focus more on my product, and I can figure out what is the feature that I would like to put in my product, rather than going on a daily basis and figuring out, okay, how much work has been done, what's your impediment. It means definitely, yeah, I can see that helping for the productivity and innovation, and even what you said before, right? If someone has curiosity to learn, then that will give, these agents will give the time for that person to develop that curiosity into some kind of a skill.
Cool. I love it. See, it takes open minds. So I'm just going to touch on these two slides briefly, but I have sort of from product owner and the sort of primary roles that we have. Um, I see a lot of change here, right? So I see our product owner being able to develop a product backlog that doesn't accidentally forget things like security and whatnot, because we'll have standard processes for what goes into some types of backlogs. But with the AI-driven processes, we have new security concerns about decoding like your agent and getting into your prompts. So there are just so many changes happening as far as product ownership and requirements. And I have some thoughts about that. And I'm going to speed up a little bit because I want to talk about more of the fun things. Um, but a couple of the things, our developer engineer, it is so crucial to have the understanding of code in order to make this work, right? If we are generating code, you, the expert, are going to have to be able to look at it and say, is this what I wanted in the end? And so I see it transforming a lot more than I see it going away. But what it may mean is that many of the jobs are going away, but if you are transforming, you're able to keep up. And then we talked about the QA and test designer. I I have a special thoughts about UX UI designer, so I'll share those when I get to a later slide. But I wanted to bring this in as well because these other agile professionals are going to be either become less relevant or the most relevant. And I'm just going to sort of go down here to our stakeholders and customer groups. The end user needs to transform. The idea should be the human consumer, right? The end user is not the appropriate term for what they or we are doing. We are consuming your stuff. And people are going to get much more sensitive to bad UI or bad requirements. And so when we're starting with the human consumer and the customer kind of at the forefront, And then we're engaging them in a much more human practice than asking them to write user stories, for example. We are going to get better product in the end. So I don't see stakeholders or customers as other in any situation, but I find it very interesting already looking at this output. I'm like, I totally disagree with how we're categorizing people today, but that is not going to work in the future for sure. So one of the coolest things that I've been exposed to recently is design thinking. I've always been exposed to it, but I legit saw design thinking consultants hosting a workshop and helping us achieve the right outcome. And so the one quote I heard that helps me just explain you kind of my experience that I had that night in this one workshop is that Steve Jobs said it's not the customer's job to know what they want, right? It's our job. It's our job to say, this is what needs to happen. And then we develop the product to meet the need. It's way too often the other way around. And I think we've kind of all sort of contextually sort of understood that Steve Jobs never wanted a freaking phone ever. He was just like, that's not our business. We don't do that. But he kept attacking humanity's problems from different angles. And it turns out the iPhone is what we needed. So he did it. But it was a way that we can see like this thing, not only the software makes it addictive, I know, but the concept of it, what it did for humanity, is because I think Steve Jobs and the whole team thought about the problem first and reluctantly ended up with that, even though he never wanted that to begin with. So that shows the power to me of design thinking. And that's where we all need to be right now. We have a huge problem. 30 million men have been told that their jobs are going to become irrelevant. Yeah, there's a few women in there, maybe 17% in a couple of counties in America, but 25 to 30 million developers out there. I don't like how that is rolling out. So let's think of a different way to approach it. And I really think the transformation approach is much more accurate in the end. So what are the problems we're seeing around us? There are things we need to solve as humans, and let's figure out how to solve those problems instead of either, putting our heads in the sand or doing nothing and letting it all just tackle us instead of us sort of outwitting it, right? That's kind of the analogy I like to use. So in thinking about what would the future may look like or how it may be represented, on the left here, we see, well, this is sort of a traditional sprint that we might see as Agile professionals. We've seen this been going on for decades. I kind of see it represented this way in the future, obviously in my fuchsia colors. This has a lot of space in between the professionals. This does not. This is the future, right? This self-organizing team is going to be much, much more mushed up together and having closer inputs and outputs. So if you think about this, where you see me, I'm envisioning that QA, right? How do we know in the beginning and how do we confirm in the end that we know what we're doing and we're on the right track? The key about that is the QA being at the beginning and the end instead of, just the end. That's a huge shift, but we need that in that way so that, but you can kind of see how we're all sort of getting all glummed up together. And it's not really, oh, hey, it's a handoff to you and a handoff to me. It's all of us together now working this problem. And then I also like these hexagons. It is kind of like you, me, and the team, right? Here we are all together. And then we're sort of slotting in this interface where we've got these different roles that now have sort of planar much broader touch points, and we fit together more closely. So this is kind of how I see things being represented in the future. And honestly, my biggest worry is for those folks who hide behind the computer screen. And we can see kind of what Copilot has done in Teams with all the analysis and the meeting notes and the meeting minutes and the action items. So many PMPs are like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Look, it's taking over my job. And I'm like, bro, kind of back to what Nog was saying before, it's like, the things that we don't want to do should just be done. It's fantastic. So now what is it? Now I'm relying on me to walk over to the stakeholder, me to understand the stakeholder in a greater terms or a deeper way so that we can do bigger, better things. So the shift in the personality that we need for work is definitely going to change. But I kind of saw this as a good illustration of, well, that's kind of how we used to be, but we're going to be much closer and more embedded with each other in the future for sure. So hopefully, I think most of you are aware of what a prompt engineer is, or you may have heard the term before. I like to just make sure that if anyone hasn't heard that, there should be no AI shame. There's no reason for you to jump into it other than what you hear and in my words. There's plenty of reasons, but this is just a very basic prompt as an example. But what I wanted to really say most about this is that I spoke to someone the other day, and their end result was a 10-page prompt. So anyone can write a paragraph, and it just says, "You're an expert at e-commerce." This paragraph is really quite straightforward, but think about how that's going to be much more complex. How are you going to track your prompt inputs and outputs? I mean, when it just looks like a paragraph, there's going to have to be some sort of organization around it and for it. So diving into how do I do a complex prompt is huge. This slide just helps people break down if you've never heard of what a prompt is, or maybe if you don't know what a prompt engineer would be. This explains like the very basic things we need to make sure our prompts are successful. I won't go into that too much, but if you guys want the slides, I'll give it to you. But talking about new roles, right? I just want to share an example of my role, the AI Sherpa, and how things and knowledge are condensed so that I give my friend Rick, I call it the one-day MBA, right? The knowledge that I used to want to have to learn business. I used to then had to go to school for a couple years. I then would get trained, and then I understand how all of this works. And not only that, you develop a professional demeanor and you understand how to relate to each other in a business setting. Not everybody gets that. And so my buddy Rick came to me and he kind of had this problem, and he owns a pedicab business in downtown Denver, and his competition and him got in a fight. And so now they're kind of at war. I'm like, none of this sounds awesome. What are you doing? And so I picked up, though, he had a specific ask. He was like, I want to get into the north parking lot of the Rocky Stadium, and this other guy is keeping me out. And I'm like, okay, so what'd you do? And he's just like, okay, well, this guy, da da da. And he wrote a letter to the Rockies. And I was like, no, 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 no. Okay, let's use chat. And he's like, but it was very funny. So over about 90 minutes, we're sitting there at BJ's, and I'm like, Rick, okay, what do we want? Okay, what? And in the end, it came out with some really, really good stuff for him. And he was just shocked and surprised. But also part of the conversation we were having was like, oh, well, maybe I want to sell my business. And I'm like, okay, chat, how are we positioned it to sell? How much do you think we can get? And he's like, huh. And then I thought, well, okay, the pedicabs have lithium ion batteries. And one of the things he was complaining about with his competitor is that that person doesn't have insurance, doesn't do the things right. Accidents can happen. And I was like, well, wait, how many batteries do you have in your shop? How much do you spend on lithium ion batteries? What? And so we had this whole conversation, and I was really impressed because he took that information and he ended up writing this amazing proposal and sent it to the Rockies, a proper proposal. And then he followed up with some phone calls. And one day he called and said, okay, could I just talk to the admin assistant, and I would like to know if there's anyone higher in the organization I could talk to. He had talked and been so nice to this person several times. She connected him directly to the owner of the Rockies. And that's why I have his picture here. So Rick all of a sudden was on the phone with the owner of the Rockies, having to sell himself instead of talking bad about his competition. And he also had his follow-up letter right there so that he had 7 minutes on the phone with this gentleman, Dan. Dan said he would have the operations people look into it. And then he sent the letter to the owner directly because he got his email address and said, I would just like you to have it. So he was prepared for all of those things. And the only thing it took was me sitting down for 90 minutes, making sure he had chat. And then we just talked to chat. And I kept saying, chat, do you really think that's a good strategy? But my competition. But it ended up really working out for him. But the other thing was when we were talking about what other things he could do, and I apologize that this slide has just got way too many words on it, but I at least wanted to give you the top 2 out of the 10 suggestions. When I started digging in and learning more about Rick and his business and understanding, wait, these lithium ion batteries, that's a thing, that's huge. Just that, what I call domain expertise, is massive. So now what we have is a list of 10 jobs, look at that, between $80,000 and $120,000, where he could go and he could investigate, all right, let me leverage my domain experience with lithium ion batteries and let me marry it with AI. And maybe instead of having my own business, I go and I get a $100,000 job, or at least I now have a path so that in a couple of years, I might end up in that $100,000 a year job. And this is why it's so crucial and I just find it incredible. Here's what you do in a 90-minute chat GPT session. But if you look at listen to what's going on in the ecosystem, people are afraid of AI. So maybe you are the person that is the AI Sherpa. Maybe you don't want to write the prompts. Maybe you know how to use them really well and you can coach somebody. That is equally as valuable now as anything else, is getting people to use the tools. And then this is sort of my last plug for how things are going to change. Do you remember when I said I have thoughts about UI UX designers? Thanks, Leslie. We'll see ya. When we're talking about building your product backlog or creating an engaging experience for your users, we are going to use our voices instead of our input screens. There are no more text boxes. If you've watched Star Trek, they go computer ... And the whole point of that is that the human relationship and the human output can just be captured. And I have taken a meeting where I've got all of this going on, all of the transcripts, and I can plug that now into chat and I can get my product backlog. But I can also be talking to the customer about, well, how do you know it's going to be a great delivery? Like exploring the definition of done with a customer, exploring the accountability level that they're willing to have, right? They spoke the words, we built it. it's a direct line. So these things become much easier. And without having to convert yourself, the conversation to a user story, you have your AI assistant to do that. It's not that you're not involved. You had the conversations, you made sure the conversations captured things. The human customer had a much better experience. And then your user stories and backlog are part of this whole process. And it is almost a closed loop without anyone really having to open up any user interfaces. And so I believe that the conversation piece and the engagement directly is going to be much more effective at getting us the right outcomes and building us our amazing backlogs. So I gave myself a 1 week LLM challenge, so I will pose that out to you. I have used Terminal for the first time. I installed Python. I installed something else. I forgot what it was called. I did not always do it correctly, but when I messed up, I just copied what was happening and I just put it back into chat. And it was like, oh, yeah, back out of this and get into your prompt. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. And just by this process, I am now willing and able to use the command line interface much more, which is something I've just never cared to do. I have my experts, they're CLI folks, go for it. But now I find these neurons are firing, and it's a huge win and a huge challenge and just a huge accomplishment for me to say, well, I've just always ignored that because I didn't have to do it. But now I want to do it. That's the difference, and that's where curiosity comes in and helps you get to the next place. Um, so we're getting close to time, and I do want to allow time for questions, but I wanted to end on this slide because without these sort of 4 groups and 4 components of a much broader community I have, I feel like I might be a little bit lost. And so the first one is Women in AI Colorado. It's an amazing group. So if you are here in Colorado, yes, please. Right now, they're in person. That's also where I had the design thinking session. Incredible. Nothing like this group of women. We get together and we are just so excited to be in the room and so excited to learn about what's going on. But again, women have not always been fostered in tech, and so it's wonderful to have an amazing group. And then the Rocky Mountain AI Interest Group, or RMAG, is a great place to get involved and learn. And they are doing things like this, like all the time. But they have one monthly meeting here, and that's a great place to get connected with everyone. So with that, let me sort of close it out and say thank you so much for joining. And I would like to open it up to questions. And if there's no questions, I have a very funny video I can show you. I think it's funny, but questions first, though. And we are going to get you out exactly on time.
Yeah.
I put a, oh,
Yeah, go ahead. No, go ahead. We haven't
Okay.
heard from you, Katerina.
Sure. I was just going to ask, in the Boulder, Denver area, I'm in Boulder myself, and I try to stay up to date on a lot of these events, and I have it in as my intention to be better, especially just, starting as everything is warming up. But yeah, just like maybe in the next month, if there's any events specific that you're looking forward to kind of in this area, if you want to post them in the chat or just let us know what they are, I'd love to keep tabs. So.
I will, and you know what? I should have grabbed the meetup logo, and I am going to pop all of these links into the chat right now, so you can go. Ooh, sister event, Agile Denver. I see that here. Stewarding a vibrant Agile community in the Front Range. So if you can you check the chat, Katerina? Oh, great. So you've got that link, and then I'll
Yes,
just
that's one of my
slowly.
favorite. Go
Ah,
ahead.
good.
Yeah.
One of your favorites. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Sorry.
No, thank you. And please join this Women in AI group. Definitely come and say hi to us there. It's just electric. Both of these groups are electric. Yes, go ahead, Anil.
Yeah, I have a more of a tactical educational type question. I mean, last 3.5 years I've been at Amazon, so Amazon operates in a different way. But as I'm looking for a new job, I'm trying to understand how the traditional non-big tech companies are operating, especially the Scrum Masters or program managers in the meeting, on how are you handling the Scrum or program management or AI implementation projects? Because there's a lot of ambiguity around what the customer problem is, what the business outcomes are, and then experience changes really fast. Models do not work as you expect them to be. I mean, they're very less deterministic, right? I mean, it's not like the ERPs or CRMs of the world where, configure users, configure product, and then blah, blah, system is ready. So, yeah. I know there's no definitive answer, but just want to hear, bounce off any ideas. Yeah.
Does anyone have any advice, or I would love to open it up to see? Because right now I'm not working within an organization, but my goal, my hope is that I will be the TPM for Microsoft, involving the OpenAI project, which is what I interviewed for. And I'm just like, what I'm going to do is I plan to build my own personal counterpart. Like I am going to have my own agent, and that agent is going to show up to work with me. I don't exactly know how that's going to express yet, so I'm starting to build, and that's one of my LLM challenges for myself. Is like, this is why I want to build an LLM, because I have these ideas. I'm going to play around in the modern goddess world, and I have an idea to make a bot called Goddess Poppins, and she's going to give you some really cool, hip advice. If you all have seen the movie Mary Poppins, you might be too young, but very funny movie. But how it embeds in the process, I'm just so excited to get in. Because like I said, I can already see like my backlog is going to change. I'm going to talk to them. I'm just going to delight them, right? I'm going to use my comedy skills. And these are the reasons why I'm like, do some art, try stand-up comedy, do improv, something like that. Because if we are talking and engaging with either the developers at OpenAI will tell me everything you need, I can create the things I think using my backlog agent. And then I can say, hey, look, here's what we have. And we go through and review it together. But over time, I think I'll understand what they're doing well enough where everyone's just going to be like, yeah, you got it. Yeah. Okay. We had that meeting. I know it's all going to get taken care of from there. And that's the trust I want to build up over time. But I wish I had some real world experience other than just like, here's how I plan to
Yeah, I
change it.
think yeah, like I mentioned, I know it's we are kind of, we as in the last years is still in that pioneer mode, right? So there's a lot of ambiguity. So just was looking for
So
directional
one
thoughts. Yeah.
thing, Anil, that we are using, I can share that. So we are using the, I wouldn't say agent. We don't have agents yet, but we do are developing some bots, and we do use bots for NFR, non-functional requirements. So most of the time, what
Hmm.
we do is when we develop the product, we take care of a lot of customer interactions, and what is that experience, customer experience, at least so far. I mean, I know that there's a lot of stuff that can be done, but that is still taken care by the product managers. But there are a lot of NFRs that we don't really care. I mean to say, we don't want to write them ourselves, but we would like to have them included into the stories. So
Hmm.
those kind of performance requirements, or the load requirements, or the reliability requirements, most of those we are getting it from bot at this point. They are not perfect, but at least we come to know
Hmm.
that these are the like 3 or 4 headings that you guys have to consider. So even if we forget that, hey, we forgot about the performance requirement, then we can just at least use that help to include that into our
Yeah.
product requirements. So far, it's a very
Got it.
minimal, but at least I wanted to show that's reality.
So okay, so the mental model is you're actually baking those tasks into your agile workflow. Whether you execute those tasks or not, they'll be there. You can remove them if not needed.
Yes.
Okay, that's super helpful. Yeah.
I see a complete nightmare challenge, but for the right person is that categorization and organization of bot like your microservices up to agent, and then making sure your agents are always conceptually correct, because as we're going to have this agent overlapping with this agent, and then these bots down here doing these things, the person who is almost like our AI CI/CD pipeline type person, or could even be your Scrum master, is looking at what is my org chart, and are we competing agents, or how do we reorganize, right, our agent chart because it becomes out of date. Um, so I see a lot of amazing ways that AI will enhance your career and give you
Yeah.
opportunities to leverage your knowledge in AI. But it's it's emerging, right? So the emergent technology is very different to handle, because no one really knows where it's going. So we're all shaping it at the same time it's emerging. And that's one of the reasons why I'm so um, excited and energized to get everyone kind of at least in the world of AI with some of these understandings of the other principles that will help you, because it's going to be a wild ride the next few years. But I promise you, like, artificial superintelligence is coming. So getting grounded now while it's only AGI is really helpful, because we don't know. I mean, no one can predict. But I will tell you, and please help me on this. If you start hearing or observing people saying it's like God, please bring them back down to earth. The project is building data centers. It's networking. It's storage. It's compute. Like, the thing just exists until you're curious. And so I just have already heard a few people, it's God. I'm like, no, 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 no. We tamp it down.
So, okay. Any other questions? We can take a few minutes to introduce anything else at this point. So we can go with the next events, Jen, if you have some openings. Like, for example, I think we are, if you're anywhere from, we're trying to make these kind of events as more like a hybrid. We are trying to come up with an in-person, most probably for March. We have this monthly
Yes.
Agile Boulder events, and we're trying to make it hybrid so we can join. And next month, there's going to be a very interesting topic about the product management. We are still working on that, but be sure to show up, and we'll be publishing the links and all the stuff on the meetup. That's what I just wanted to let you guys know, that this group is going to become really active, whether it's in terms of interacting with each other, networking with each other, or even coming up with what kind of topics do you guys need us to present for rest of the year, right? If you guys have any suggestions, please let us know, either LinkedIn or Meetup. Either way, we are willing to take those inputs. Like Jen has gone through this AI, which is it's still emerging, but still we are very thankful to Jen to take up this topic and give some insight into how things are going to move. But like this, if there are some upcoming topics that you would like us to take, please let us know.
Definitely let us know. And I'll look through the chat to see if we got any ideas tonight. And I will connect with all of you on LinkedIn. And we really appreciate you attending. And, if you can attend a few of these this year, that would be really helpful. But just back to what Nog was saying, I truly believe if you build your professional network now, as you continue to grow it, you will feel much more stable, you will feel connected, and it's just really joyful. Most people right now, as you get into the room, are just excited to see other people. And at least that's been my experience. So we hope to see you at some events, and we thank you so much for joining today.
Thank you very much, Jen. Appreciate everybody.
Good night.
Bye. Good night.